Sometimes life puts us in situations we never planned for, moments that test our character, our empathy, and the kind of humans we choose to be. But this story, it began with a lie that set off a chain of events I never saw coming. I never imagined I'd end up sitting across from a girl in a wheelchair, her smile both bright and heartbreaking, telling me, "You don't have to stay if it's pity." That sentence shattered me inside, not because she doubted me, but because I realized the world had taught her to expect abandonment. And the worst part? I wasn't supposed to be there in the first place. Before the story begins, make sure to subscribe to the Soulful Stories, like this video, and share your thoughts in the comments. Your support helps these meaningful stories reach more hearts. Now, let's begin. My name is Ethan, and until last summer, kindness was something I believed in, but rarely practiced intentionally. I was busy, distracted, and moving through life too fast. Like most people, I didn't pay attention to the invisible battles others were fighting. Everything changed on a warm June afternoon when my best friend Josh convinced me to go on a blind date. "It's time you stop hiding behind work," he said, tossing me a clean shirt. "This girl is perfect for you." I didn't argue. Maybe I was lonely. Maybe I was hiding, so I agreed. We were supposed to meet at a small cafe with outdoor seating, a cute, rustic place with hanging lights and wooden railings. I got there early, nervous but curious. A few minutes later, she rolled into view. A girl in a wheelchair, long brown hair tied in a messy ponytail, a soft white top, simple black skirt, and eyes that carried both hope and caution. She looked right at me and smiled like she already knew me. "Ethan?" she asked. I just nodded, but inside, I was confused. Josh never mentioned this, not once. She wheeled closer, adjusting her bag strap. "I wasn't sure you'd come." I smiled awkwardly, still processing everything. "I'm glad to be here." We sat, talked. The conversation flowed astonishingly well. Her name was Lila, and she was 23, studying graphic design, addicted to iced caramel lattes, and had a laugh that made you want to hear it again. But every now and then I noticed how she positioned her arms stiffly, or how she hesitated before reaching for her drink, as if worried she might need help. Still, she never asked for it. An hour in, she said something that made my stomach tighten. "Thanks for not looking at me like I'm broken." I shook my head. "Why would I do that?" She looked down at her hands. "Most people do." I didn't know what to say. I didn't know how to say it. Because somewhere inside, I was still trying to process the truth. I had been tricked into this date. But sitting with her, talking to her, laughing with her, I couldn't bring myself to be upset anymore. After the date, I called Josh. "Are you kidding me?" I snapped. "You could have told me she was in a wheelchair?" He finished. "Yeah, I could have. But you would have said no." He was right. And that truth stung more than I expected. "But Ethan," he said softly, "she's a great person. She deserves someone who sees her, not her chair." I didn't sleep much that night. Instead, I kept replaying her smile, her laugh, her quiet strength. The next day, I texted her. "Can we meet again?" She replied within a minute. "I'd like that." We met on the porch of a local park lodge, wooden railings wrapped around us, and the sound of birds filled the air. Lila was already there, gently rolling her chair back and forth like she was enjoying a breeze. "You came," she said with that same soft smile. I sat across from her. The air felt warm, comforting. "I wanted to," I replied honestly. She looked relieved, maybe even grateful. We talked for hours. She told me she wasn't born paralyzed. It happened from a spinal injury caused by a car accident when she was 17. Half her body remained partially paralyzed, her left side weaker, her left arm barely functional, her legs dependent on the chair for movement. "It's hard," she admitted. "Some days it's unbearable, but other days, I'm proud I'm still here." Her vulnerability hit me deep. Not because I pitied her, because she was surviving battles most people never have to face. When the temperature dropped and a light drizzle began to fall, she closed her eyes and whispered, "I love the sound of tires on wet pavement. It's silly, but it calms me." "No," I said quietly, "it's beautiful." She looked at me again, really looked. And for a second, it felt like the world paused. On our third meeting, things took a sharp turn. We were sitting at a lakeside deck when she suddenly asked, "Ethan, why did you say yes to the first date?" I froze. She noticed. You hesitated, she whispered. People only hesitate when they're hiding something. I swallowed hard. I didn't want to lie, not to her. So I told her the truth. Josh didn't tell me about your wheelchair. He knew I might chicken out. I'm sorry. She stared at me for a long moment, her eyes dimming. So you were tricked, she said flatly. Yes, I admitted, but I'm glad I was. Her expression hardened. You don't have to stay if this is pity, Ethan. I don't want pity. Ever. Her voice trembled, not with anger, but with pain. The kind of pain that comes from being disappointed too many times. Lila, I said softly, if this were pity, I wouldn't be here. She looked away, wiping her cheek quickly. People always leave, she whispered. Eventually they all decide I'm too much work. My chest tightened. I leaned forward. I'm not people. Over the next week, something changed between us. I found myself caring more deeply than I expected, drawn not to her situation, but to her heart. Lila was strong, brave, funny, and incredibly kind. But she had walls. Walls built from years of being treated like less than whole. One day, as we sat under the shade of a large oak tree, I watched her struggle to pick up her water bottle. Her left hand wouldn't cooperate. She sighed, frustrated, and whispered, I hate this. Without thinking, I reached out and held her hand steady. She looked at me in surprise. You don't have to help, she murmured. I know, I said gently, but I want to. Her eyes softened in a way I'd never seen before. Why? She whispered. Because I care about you, not out of pity, not because of your wheelchair, but because of who you are. Tears filled her eyes, and she didn't hide them this time. No walls, no bravery masks. Just Lila, a girl who'd been hurt, doubted, abandoned, yet still had the courage to love life. She whispered, no one's ever said that to me. I squeezed her hand. Then I'm glad I'm the first. A few days later, I arrived at her house to find her outside, waiting on the porch. She looked worried. My building elevator's broken, she explained. I couldn't get down alone. Without hesitation, I lifted her gently, her arms around my shoulder, her cheek brushing my neck. She was light, but the weight of the moment was heavy with emotion. When I set her in the car, she looked at me differently, like she saw something new, something safe. You really don't mind, she whispered. I don't. She took a deep breath. I'm scared to let myself believe you, she said softly, but I want to. Our story didn't end in one magical moment. It grew slowly, day by day, trust by trust, smile by smile. Kindness didn't fix everything. Kindness didn't erase her challenges. Kindness didn't undo the years of hurt she endured. But kindness made room for love, and love made room for healing. Today, when Lila smiles at me from across a cafe table or wheels beside me on a sunny trail, I realize something powerful. Sometimes life tricks us. Sometimes friends push us. Sometimes circumstances force us into unfamiliar places. But every now and then, those unexpected moments become the ones that change us the most. And all it takes is kindness. If there's one thing this story teaches, it's this. Kindness isn't about fixing people. It's about showing up, without judgment, without fear, without pity. It's about choosing to see the heart, not the hardship, the person, not the problem, the soul, not the struggle. If we all practiced just a little more kindness, the world would be a softer, safer place for millions of people like Lila. And maybe, even for people like you and me.